Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox television. In the headlines, defense lawyers of the 10 Amazonian leaders currently incarcerated in Kundengi have expressed disappointment over the case pitting the 10 leaders of the said Amazonian movement, and equally they state they are disappointed over poor management of the case that is adjourned on a daily basis, and have equally said that the appeal still pending at the Yaoundé Court of Appeal is yet to be granted attendance. And equally, Barrister Agbo Bala has called on school resumption across Anglophone Cameroon come September 2019. He challenges leaders of the separatist movement to control their fighters, not to attack educational establishments, teachers, and equally students. Barrister Agbo Baya, who is equally a president of a human rights group, is equally calls on the government of Cameroon to ensure the security of educational establishments. He equally calls on parents to brave fear and send their children to school come September 2019. And we begin this newscast with the disappointment raised by defense lawyers of Julius Siku Ayuktabe and other 10 Amazonian leaders who are currently being incarcerated in Kundengi during the court case yesterday. It should be noted that the court case took place at about 1 a.m. and so far raised worries about the late start of the case and equally the late ending of that matter pitting the 10 Amazonian leaders and the government of Cameroon. The complaints generally about poor management, and said the case was equally adjourned due to the fact that the appeal that was tabled at the Yaoundé Court of Appeals is yet to be granted attendance by the government of Cameroon. And the following excerpt, we'll be listening to one of the defense lawyers, Mungwa Tanye Nico, who is a legal practitioner for the Supreme Court of Cameroon and equally Nigeria.
I would start by informing you that the matter has been adjourned to the 23rd of July, and that our clients were brought at about 1 o'clock yesterday to court, and we had been to court at 9 a.m. and it's becoming a routine for us to come to court, and then our clients are brought at late hours. That said, I would want to signal one important issue that has been plaguing lawyers at the level of that court: the insecurity of lawyers. We've done everything to oppose the authorities of the military tribunal to bail us out of insecurity. During the last session, the court was full with people that we don't know them, but we used our own intelligence and our own research to understand that before they came last time, before our clients came, the court was full with plainclothes security men. Some of them, we know them in quarters. The worst of it happened yesterday when one gentleman who has been grinding the bones of Ambazonians, those that have gone through said have been calling his name. I don't know whether the Secretary of State is aware that this guy was in court yesterday. The guy would not want lawyers to talk. He wouldn't even want lawyers to write. He went up to the level of inspecting pens of lawyers. It got to a level where lawyers became so angry, and one of them raised an alarm, and we had to call the attention of the lead counsel, Etat Bisson. Etat Bisson had to call, senior Etat Bisson had bâtonnier. He had to call the attention of the court, and the judge promptly acted by bringing the guy right to the floor of the court. So when the guy appeared, he asked him, "Who are you, sir?" We're in a public hearing, and when you come and you stand and you don't want lawyers to work, people are not at ease. So the guy introduced himself that he is Ebode, Ajudan Ebode from SED, and we gathered that this gentleman is one of the guys that has grind the bones of Anglophones. Those that have been arrested from the regions and brought here, the man is he is a machine. So we came out of court so disappointed And one of the worst things that happened is that the judge did not play his role well, even though he won the guy. But like a good military judge, he had to side with him because he appeared to have talked to lawyers that lawyers force. He insinuated the issue of phones that are in court and said he was going to order for a search of the court hall to see those that are holding phones. That phones are not allowed in the court hall except those of lawyers, but he was going to order that phones should be searched and to see whether lawyers are filming or lawyers are recording. And that it has come to his notice that some lawyers come to court and they do record. But this is a blatant lie because we've never had that. So this is what transpired in court yesterday.
And Barrister Tani Nico Amongwa, apart from outlining what happened at the Yaoundé military court yesterday during the case between Julius Sekou Ayuk Tabe and 10 other Amazonian leaders versus the state, equally explains what or the reasons why the case was adjourned to July 23rd, 2019. Take a listen to him once more.
Well, we had three issues to discuss yesterday. Remember, we had filed a recusal against the judge that is currently holding this matter, which is one of the court processes that was easily done by dismissed by the Court of Appeal. And you know, once the Court of Appeal dismisses a recusal, you don't have grounds again for further appeals. So that one said. But before then, we had recused Colonel Mem, the person that heard the matter before the arrival of this judge, Messé John. We had recused his panel. We recused the panel of Mem, and the appeal court has never served us on any decision concerning that recusal. So when Colonel Mem was transferred to Buea, two of his vice president, or you call them ancestors, are still sitting. So as a result of that, we decided to serve them again and to remind them that we've never gotten any decision from the Court of Appeal concerning their own recusal. Because as soon as MEM's panel was dismissed, or was recused rather, they were not supposed to be sitting, even with the new judge. So these are the issues that we raised yesterday. Apart from that, we raised the issue of a pending appeal before the Supreme Court, because we had appealed against one funny ruling that came up, and the French people call it mansion. We are taking it to the appeal court. When we took it to the appeal court dismissed it. We moved straight away to the Supreme Court, and it's pending before the Supreme Court. We've never gotten the ruling or the judgment of the Supreme Court on that. So as a result of that, we knew that once a matter is, and that is even tried law, that once a matter, an interlocutory appeal is pending before the Supreme Court, especially when it touches on issues of illegality of a matter, issues that have to obstruct to the procedure and the free flow of justice, that the court below must suspend. It must suspend hearing until the matter is heard at the Supreme Court. But yesterday, funnily with language or with play of words, we got that the law, the procedural code is read west of the Mongo differently and is read east of the Mongo differently, and that an interlocutory appeal of that nature does not stay proceeding. So as a result of that, the judge had to rule that it doesn't stay proceedings, and that we should come back on the 23rd of July for him to continue with the matter, because during their last hearing, they have started admitting some police reports. So
that was Barrister Amongwa Ntanyi Nico, legal practitioner for the Supreme Court of Cameroon and Nigeria, and equally one of the lawyers defending Julius Sekou Ayuk Tabe and 9 other Amazonian leaders detained in Kundengui. And now human rights advocate Barrister Agbo Bala has challenged leaders of the separatist movements to control their fighters by not attacking educational establishments, parents and teachers, and equally students, in order to ensure that students return to school come September 2019. Barrister Agbo Balas equally called on the government of Cameroon to ensure the security of educational establishments, calling on parents to brave fear and ensure their children return to school come September. More in the following report. Barrister Agbonkongo Bala, president of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, equally joined Ayapola Bine to salute Mancho BBC's campaign for school resumption in Anglophone Cameroon. Barrister Agbo Bala also outlined reasons why schools must resume in the northwest and southwest regions ravaged for years by the bloody armed conflict. In a statement made public July 9th, the rights group says the school boycott call initiated by separatist leaders in 2016 is obsolete. The president of the Outer Lord Consortium says while Cameroonians must acknowledge the important role played by the school boycott towards creating awareness on the status and problems of southern Cameroon in union with the Republic of Cameroon, the population must also recognize that the prolonged boycott has brought enormous adverse consequences on the socio-economic and cultural advancement in and indeed the future of the English-speaking regions. Education, which according to the CHRDA of Barrister Agbo Bala has been the main industry in the northwest and southwest regions, today closed down for 3 years. A regrettable situation, as prior to October 2016, more than 6,000 schools that were operational within the regions, less than 100 went operational by December 2018. This implies nearly 59,000 schools were closed down with over 40,000 students out of school and over 40 schools burnt down, according to the human rights advocate. As of June 2019, UNICEF reported that over 600,000 children are out of school in the Anglophone regions. To the CHRDA, more and more students have migrated to the French-speaking regions to pursue education, paradoxically carrying along all the investment in education to the regions and get to be absorbed by the French system Anglophones claim to be fighting against. A special back-to-school campaign, according to the CHRDA, will be launched in the coming days with aim to sensitize parents, governments, and the separatists on the need to create safe space in the Anglophone regions for children to go back to school. The rights group notes any movement or group that opposes education in any form violates these fundamental human rights recognized by many top international conventions. The CHRDA calls on separatist leaders to direct their fighters to stop attacking academic institutions, teachers, and students braving the odds to school. It also calls on government to enhance efforts towards ensuring the security of schools' infrastructures, teachers, and students in the northwest and southwest regions. The Agbo Bala Rights Group appeals to parents to overcome fear and sending their children to school come September 2019. Inhabitants of Tancha, a neighborhood in Kumba 3 subdivision, Meme division of the Southwest region, are hoping to see schools resume next academic year. They are hoping and have begun preparing, thus they've embarked on a cleanup campaign in school compounds to ensure their needs for effective resumption on September 2019. More with Manjukan Gabriel.
Some youths of Tancha, a locality in Kumba 3 subdivision of Meme division. There were many of them of this locality who came out to clean the premises of the government practicing an inclusive school that has been invaded by grass because of no schooling for the past 2 years as a result of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions.
Only as they don't clear the field.
Seeing that the school field has been cleared, I'm very happy. But when school will finally start, I will be more happier. We all know the importance of education because without that, we can't know our rights.
As you are right, I'll be very happy. And once the school go back, I'll be very, very happy.
The action taken by the inhabitants of Tancha comes days after those of Mabanda also came out in their numbers to start cleaning the campus of Government Bilingual High School Mabanda. The ongoing move taken by the inhabitants of these neighborhoods in Kumba 3 comes as a result of a sensitization tour made by the divisional officer for Kumba 3, Ipolewane Veklin, geared at fighting for schools to resume during this 2019-2020 academic year, knowing that pupils, students, teachers, and sometimes campuses are targeted since the start of the crisis. Many are asking if the campaign for back to school will be effective when the atmosphere is still hot. Let's wait and see.
Still in education news, members of the Parents Teachers Association of Government Bilingual High School Lele Muntom are at daggers drawn with the school principal over poor financial management. They are accusing him for swindling PTA funds. Smart details with for me, Armstrong Sander.
The end of the academic year turns sour between parents and the principal of Government Bilingual High School Lele Mwantong in the Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon. In a discord, members of the Parents Teachers Association accused the school principal of swindling PTA fees meant for some key projects in the school. Seated at an extraordinary session, PTA members of the school said 22,000 francs CFA was taken as PTA fee from parents of the over 700 students who study at GBHS Lele Mwantong. Some of the parents think that the money has been stolen and the matter should be reported to the State Council or the National Corruption Commission, CNAC. Parents question the number of PTA teachers recruited by the school principal and say none of the major projects envisaged by the school has been able to be realized by the school principal. Gaston Gangum, PTA president, says a project to purchase computers for the sum of 325,000 francs CFE and another for 3 million francs could not be realized for reasons unknown. The PTA president also spoke about 400,000 francs CFE received for the purchase of benches, which has not been realized. Invited for the PTA ordinary meeting, the principal failed to answer present, but when contacted by EQUINOXE television on a telephone interview, the school principal indicated that the money was used for a different project. The discord between the school principal and the Parents Teachers Association has been channeled to the Mongo Divisional Delegation of Secondary Education.
And ex-workers of the Lompanga construction sites in the eastern region of Cameroon are once again requesting for unpaid commitments and other social benefits. The payment, which was supposed to be done in 2017, leaves the workers address a letter to the head of state requesting a total payment of 800 million francs CFA. Hemin Eluga reports.
Workers of the Lompanga construction site in the east region of the country are actually requesting commitments and other social benefits. They are allegedly striking to demand that the commitments made by their employer during previous strikes be paid. 870 ex-workers of the Lompanga project are requesting the commitments and other social benefits. Commitments requested include your registration for social welfare, benefits with the National Social Insurance, the payment of certain bonuses, aspects already mentioned in previous strikes, but till date, no major measures taken by the employer to address the worries of the disgruntled workers. Their complaints have been tabled at the Labour Department, and the delegate in charge of workers' welfare has channeled this to the governor.
de la région de l'Est, notamment le gouverneur.
These recurring tensions at the Lompanga site is as well intensified by the generally poor attention paid to workers who have had accidents or lost their lives while at work.
Madame Ginga de Lompanga, il a travaillé à Lompanga, il est décédé le 29.
I am Mrs. Jinga. My husband worked at Lompanga and he died on the 29th of February. But the project manager said they were to assist me with the kids' education and others. But till now, nothing has been done.
Depuis le 2 janvier 2012-2013.
Since the 2nd of January 2013 in Lung that I had an accident, I was sent to the hospital by the Chinese and suddenly the medical follow-up was stopped. They said I should wait for the CNPS. All abandoned to themselves, the ex-workers have, as it's now, addressed a letter of complaint to the head of state while expecting a favorable action be taken to ensure the payment of 800 million CFA francs of commitments and benefits, which was officially to be paid in 2017.
And up next is the smart sides of the AFCON 2019 in Egypt. And we are welcoming, as usual, Smanjikang Gabriel. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Innocent Aze.
Today is the start of the quarter-final matches of the 2019 AFCON ongoing in Egypt.
Yes, and as we speak at the 30th June Stadium in Egypt, it is the Teranga Lions of Senegal who are head-on-head against the Scourers of Benin. And we should recall that in the course of this encounter, which is still 0-0 at this time that we are talking, it is Benin and Senegal who are having a tough time. And to note that Benin qualifying to this quarter-final stage had not recorded any win in the competition, meaning from group stage right up to the level of the 8th finals. They had a draw and they were separated on penalty shootout at the level of the 8th final. So as we speak, it is the Scourers of Benin and Senegal, the Teranga Lions, who are still to find the net of the Scourers of Benin. Later on this evening, we are going to have a game. It is a clash of the Titans, if we might put it that way. Maybe a finals before another finals that we're going to have on the 17th out there in Egypt. Is going to pit Nigeria to the Bafanas of South Africa. And talking about the Bafana team, they had their last training session that was yesterday. In the course of the training session at which the coach Basta told his players to be up in spirit and also urged his players to play with more determination. The players themselves, they have confirmed they are preparing each match according to the way they come. It should be noted, we know that South Africa and Nigeria, it is not the first time they are confronting each other. Just like the Super Eagles, they were also on the pitch. That was yesterday out there in Cairo. It was their last warm-up section. We are talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Day 2, they had their last training session. That was yesterday out there in Cairo, Egypt. It will be a win or it is a must-win victory for the Super Eagles, who are also gone in for a 4th continental title when we know they have already won 3. Meanwhile, South Africa has won just 1. And talking about the head-to-head percentage win of these two teams that will be meeting later in the evening, according to our statistics that we drew, it is a percentage win that sees Nigeria with an upper hand on paper in terms of their history head-to-head. Let's look at the percentage win, which goes in favor of Nigeria. As we tell you, in terms of victories, in terms of goals scored, we have a tournament win already, with Nigeria already winning 3, South Africa 1. Top goal scorers in an AFCON competition, we have Benny McCarthy of South Africa with 7 goals. Yakini, we have Yakini that's Rakini Yekine, who is actually the man who is making things difficult for these guys. We are talking about Rashidi Yekine, who has scored 13 goals, an all-time win in terms of percentage in an AFCON. And Nigeria has 54% host and tournament host. South Africa has picked up 2 tournaments that have hosted, while Nigeria has hosted 3. That is just percentage in terms of percentage victory in this African Cup of Nations. Talking about the key players, people as expected to watch this evening. The key players, certainly eyes will be on Lodge, the man who nailed the Egyptian side, who is putting on JC number 13. And another man that the people want to watch this evening is Odion Igalo, who is also one of the top goal scorers of the competition. Talking about the video assistant referee, it is on as we speak. It has already done a very first work against the match of Senegal and Benin. Unfortunately, the goal was disallowed, an offside goal that was called by Sadio Mane. So the video assistant referee is also present out there at the 30th June field in Egypt. Now, matches will be coming up tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to have Ivory Coast that is going to take on their opponent. We have first of all, we'll start with Tunisia that will be taking on Madagascar. That will be tomorrow. And Tunisian teams also had their last training session. It was yesterday. Tunisia, Madagascar. It is going to be a match, and the first time these two sides will be meeting in an African Cup of Nations competition. But they have met before 4 times, and Tunisia has actually gathered 4 wins against 1 for Madagascar. And most of these matches that I've played is an African qualifiers and all African games. Now, talking about Ivory Coast, they will be taking on Algeria tomorrow. Ivory Coast will be taking on Algeria. If we have to go on the head-on-head confrontation, Algeria and Ivory Coast, we are going to see that the great guys of Ivory Coast, that is Ivory Coast, have met with these guys 24 times, and both teams will be meeting in their very first 23rd, it will be their 24th confrontation tomorrow, with 23 confrontations already gone, and both teams have recorded the same victories, 8-8 on either side. So tomorrow we're going to see who is going to be to move up in terms of victories in their head-to-head. Now, talking about the quarterfinal program itself, tomorrow, as we put it up there, is going to be Ivory Coast, Algeria. That match will be coming up at 5 p.m. Cameroon time, and the last game will see the Greenhorns, Madagascar, that will confront Tunisia in the other match. Now, out of this African Nations Cup, at the side of the competition, we have been putting eyes to note there was a warm-up or a friendly match between the local organizing committee and ex-players of different countries. This encounter took place in Egypt. That was yesterday. We had the local organizing committee members who were on blue. Meanwhile, the ex-players of national teams were on the orange color. That is the match who saw them separating on a 1-1 draw. It was yesterday that this match was played between the local organizing committee and some former players who are present in Egypt watching the African Cup of Nations. Lastly, before we leave you, to know that the African Cup of Nations continues with its funny stories. Latest information tells us that the Vice President of Burundi Football Federation, Amiable Abimana, has been arrested alongside 2 of the country's FA members because of match bonuses, or say bonuses meant for players that were eaten. Maybe to talk about the Burundi football team that also is having a big problem out there. The Burundi football team, the Vice President has been arrested for embezzling match or bonuses meant for the players. Burundi finished bottom in Group B, but their match bonuses have not been paid. Their president, vice president, already arrested for eating the money.
And that's it for the smart sides of the AFCON 2019. Thanks so much for coming, Smanji.
Certainly, we are going to continue to watch the games. Coming up tomorrow with some other analysis of the matches this evening.
And that's it for this first segment of the newscast. Coming up next is Talking Points. Talking Points, we are welcoming this evening a historian, Mr. Gimdo Gilbert. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Aze. Thank you for being here today.
And now, today, many people do not know, it marks exactly 100 years since the signing of the Bin-Simon boundary treaty that equally marked the kicking of Germany out of Cameroon in 1916. That has so far put Cameroon where it is today. What can we actually retain from this treaty that was signed between Britain and France?
Yeah, thank you very much. What we can retain from here is first and foremost that Cameroon is where it is today because of the normal phenomenon, boundary making in colonial Africa by European powers. Either before the Africa was partitioned or during the colonization era. In other words, by the time independence was granted to African countries, boundaries were reshaped so as to make up new nations in Africa. But the case of Cameroon appears a little bit peculiar, a little bit different, because it's a country that from 1884 to 1916 was colonized and governed by Germany. Unfortunately, the outbreak of the First World War was extended to the country, to the territory, by an Anglo-French force. And from 1914 to 1916, some 18 months, the war was fought in Cameroon. On February 18th, 1916, German rule ended with the last pocket allowance at Mora by Captain von Robben. But before even the war ended, the partition had already started, because February 4th, already knowing they are going to defeat and expel the Germans from Cameroon, Britain and France had already started negotiations and practical partition of Cameroon. On February 4th, like I said, a British diplomat and a French minister of colonies, Lancelot Oliphant representing British, and George Peacock met in London and partitioned Cameroon on the Cameroon map. Cameroon map, this should signal to us the kind of partitioning, the kind of balkanization that Africa suffered in the hands of Europe, and the implementation of the partition was done in the territory from March right up to March 1916 right up to 1919. When the Cameroon was partitioned, with Britain taking a very small portion relatively to France. From 1916 to 1919, which was a process, the Milner-Simon Agreement, actually of 10th July, like today, which marks 100 years precisely of the sufferings that colonial masters left Cameroon. The territory embraced different cultures, embraced different languages, embraced different administrative systems, embraced everything so different that a people who were together during the German period. During the German period, the people are said to have been together because even if they existed in independent kingdoms or independent entities, the Germans had succeeded to group them under a common administrative focus. So when they were partitioned, and the partition went legal by the Milner-Simon Agreement of 1919, 10th July, Cameroon started suffering from then. Some historians, some people, some of us situate it from 1961 with the abrogation of the federal system, but the genesis of the problem came from when Cameroon was partitioned. The partition of Cameroon is what set in different cultures, different values, different languages, and everything, setting the people apart and making them feel so different from each other that when we became reunited in 1961, those who were brought up, those who have for more than half a century were governed in the English system, were managed in the English system, and those who were in the French system felt so different from each other. And it's unfortunate that that partition that was recognized, administered, legitimized by the League of Nations from 20th July 1922, when the two powers signed the mandate provisions and started applying them in the territory. The territory was governed across the mandate period from 1922 to 1925. following the end of the Second World War. From 1946, the UNO took over and replaced the League of Nations with the United Nations. The territory was elevated to the trusteeship status with different provisions that provided that the territory moved this time towards self-rule and eventual independence. But that could not solve the problem of the Milner-Simon Agreement that was signed some 100 years from today, because the differences were so clear. And unfortunately, because the partition wasn't even, the British decided for diplomatic and territorial reasons to take a smaller portion from France. At the end of it, or whether abrogation of federal system or even we were still living within the federal system today, what is important is that some people feel majority, some people feel majority, some people feel minority, some people feel maltreated, some people feel marginalized, and some people feel that as they are majority, they should marginalize the others. I think that is where the Milner-Simon Agreement, so 100 years now, has left Cameroon.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gimdo Gibbet, for coming. Though we had just limited time, there's a lot to talk about concerning the Milner-Simon Boundary Treaty that was signed in 1919, but hoping that some other time, so certainly elaborate on it.
Well, that would be important, because that line created problems that it would take more than just government effort to solve the problem for Cameroon.
And thanks so much, viewers, for watching this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Do have a splendid evening.